Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, April 6th edition of the Walk Down Memory Lane. I'm your host, Earl Basin. Joining me are co-hosts Dennis Brown and Garrett Punchy Dill. And we are joined by another host of Dills that include Wendell Parks, Cal, and Shervin. First of all, gentlemen, good evening and welcome to this show. Wanting to give you the opportunity to take us down memory lane. My first question, I mentioned something just as we started, because when we all grew up, the North Village team was known as the Red Devils. Can anyone tell me how they got the name? Because we know the story of the name change, but we want to know, how did they get the name Red Devils?
Yeah, I can speak to that. I could actually speak to both instances.
Okay.
The name the Red Devils came as a result of when we were first started. We actually were incorporated back in 1957, and we'll be celebrating 65 years of existence come next year, 2022. But Mr. Flood, our first president, took the team to a church up in Somerset, the Anglican church up in Somerset. And when the minister looked in the church and he saw what our uniform was, which was gray slacks, white shirt, red tie, and the red jacket that you might see me wearing when we are in finals. So we had the whole team dressed like that back in the day. And when the minister saw all that red in the audience, his first remark that, what are all these red devils doing in my church? So that's how the name started.
Okay. All right. Well, obviously, I know we're going to get to you, Punchy, because you've probably got a host of questions. But Dennis, you have any questions for these gentlemen? Any one of them?
Well, it's ironic that they went all the way to Somerset to go to church. You guys sure you went up to go to church or you went to spy on the Trojans? Which one was it? But it's nice to have you guys. Nice to have you guys on tonight. Going to be a fun show. As I was coming through the youth program in Somerset, I remember you guys, the DO guys at North Village. And ironically, my mama used to be a deal, and so we're cousins somewhere. But it was fun to watch you guys coming through. I remember distinctly, Cal. Well, all of you coming through. And my first question to you guys is, being it was a lot of brothers and cousins, to each one of you, how did you get into football at a young age, and who was your biggest influence as a young kid coming through? That's to everybody.
Well, for me, I got into football at about the age of 6 years old, and most people know about Peaksfield. Mm-hmm. And at that time, you had people like Jack Romaine, Boxhead, Gibby Rogers, and everybody met at Peaksfield, which is on Glebe Road, every afternoon. So 6 years old, I was going on the field every afternoon to try and get a kick, but you had to sit on the bank and wait until somebody asked you to come on, let you come on. And then it just went from there, And, back in the day, North Village only had like one junior team. So you had to really try hard to get into their team. I think my first game for the juniors, I was 12 years old. And I was so excited to play, man. I didn't know if I even touched the ball 3 times in the whole half. But speaking of my childhood heroes, Gapper Wade and Bayfield Clark, I would say. I saw those guys play together, and they were amazing, man. Both of them. Bayfield was the playmaker, and Gapper was the goal scorer. Those were my childhood heroes.
Okay. Anybody else?
I started when I was 12 years old playing for North Village, and that was under the legendary Doc Durlin. And my brother Punchy and myself, the twins, Richard and Robert, Bill Smith, Cracks, Millgrove Romaine. It was a bunch of us from that era that all started pretty much the same time. And we used to train down at the desert. And Doc's home was where we had all of our meetings. So that was a great time in our lives. And we started at 12. Most of them were younger than me, Punchy, the twins, and the rest of them. And I can remember losing to teams like that were established, because at that time the league was under 18. It wasn't like a junior league. So we were much younger when we started. In our first year, I can remember social club with the likes of Pinks Lewis and Toadie and Oscar and Mills. Those guys beat us 18-0 in our first season. So we had a baptism of fire. But I can say that 2 years later, we were competing with those teams, and 10 years later, we were beating those teams in the Premier Division.
That's right. Bando or Pops?
Yeah,
Yes.
I remember specifically that game with Sherman. We were down at the park and everything, and we lost that game, the 18-0. But as Skip had said, like, we were losing those games at 18-0. But Cal, in his early days, was losing games as well, but winning as well. And if we were losing 18-0, they were going up to beating teams like 6 and 7-0. So we just knew that if these guys could do it, if they could do it, then we could do it the same way as well. So that there was sort of like motivation to us watching these guys come in front of us and then coming behind them and playing to try and match up to what they were doing. So the quality of our play started from way back then.
Pops?
Yes. Evening, brothers, host. Yes, when I came in after my brothers. The youngest of started out in the junior team, because North Village had 2 junior teams, the Reds and the Whites. And the Reds were the strongest, and I played for the Whites with like Dickie Hollis, Danny Rogers, a whole host of guys. And we used to travel up to Dockyard, and we used to get beat like 11-0, but we still enjoyed the games very much. And that taught us that, you don't have to win everything at an early age, because when you get older, you have nothing to really play for. You know what I mean? So we were baptism by fire, and we stuck together. And 3 years down the road, we won everything, both divisions. But my heroes were my brothers, every last one of them.
Punchy?
Oh, I got it. Yeah, they can know that. Hey, thank you very much for that. Hey, good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, my brothers. I'm glad to have you on the show. Listen, let me ask you all a question. You're going to answer this one by one. Why is it that none of us ever left? What was so important to us about North Village? And Cal, I would ask you that question first. As a senior, most of us, a lot of people we know moved on to other teams. And Dennis, you were with Somerset full time. But Cal, and I'm sure all you are going to answer this question. I'm going to ask, what do you think made us stay at our club and our commitment to the club? What was this the environment that we lived in? Cal, maybe you could start off with that. What was so important to us for North Village? Because actually we live in the area because there was Devonshire Cougars, but what is that? Why why do you think we stayed with North Village? What do you think it was?
I think it was because it was family, man. You know, we grew up in all on Glebe Road, and everybody on Glebe Road was part of a big family, and so North Village was the only club I ever thought about playing for, and the only club I ever wanted to play for, and that's it, man. I couldn't wait to put on that red and white jersey, man. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys remember my first game. I was 16 years old. And North Village were playing Wellington Rovers out at BAA. And it was right around the time they had the hot dog, something was a hot dog scandal or whatever, but a lot of players had refused to play. So North Village were short. And I remember going out there to watch the game. And Eugene, permanent coach at that time, said, "Look, Cal, we're short. You have your gear?" Now, BAA, we stayed on the corner of Roberts Avenue and Glebe Road. Hey, I ran home through the tracks. And I hope Mama's not listening, but I had my gear packed in the little shed on the back out there. You know, those brown suitcases where we used to take to school, the brown suitcases. Had my gear packed in there, but I ran in the yard, ran all the way back out BA Field to play against Wellington Rovers, man. And that's, you know, from that day on, it was like there's no other team that I would even, you know, thought about playing for.
Uh-huh. Hey, Randall, you can answer next because you're next in line. So what about North Village? What do you think that you never even thought about somewhere else? What is it that?
Well, a lot of times I used to go up to because I used to work in the grocery store across from Nick's Cafe, right? And coming out of that grocery store there, you would see guys like Cockerfish and Jack Romaine and Joe and all these guys out there using the ball in the middle of the street, man. And the way how they played and carried that ball and was doing the one-touch passing and stuff like that there. I'm saying there can't be no other team better than this team here or these guys that can play like that. So with me, I'm saying like, this is what football should be about. And then as I got a little bit older, along came Doc Derlin. And Doc Derlin has such a pride within the youth of North Village that he used to go out of his way to make sure that we all were safe and dedicated to the game. And he was a hard guy, man, because if you weren't doing what you're supposed to do, he had this nasty habit of like just pinching you right in your chest. Pay attention to what I'm saying. He would pinch you, man, and it would make you pay attention. But he was just dedicated. And if you got a coach that is dedicated like that there to a bunch of guys that are just playing in the street, you got no choice but to just stay with this team and dedicate yourself to this team. So that was my early experience about being with North Village and why I've never ever gone to another team, and I'll never ever go to another team.
Hey, Skip, a question I want to ask you, Skip. Same thing. You can answer this question also about your attraction to North Village because you're the president of the club now, and you've been president for a while. So it's the same question. What do you feel is that you've never been been drawn to any other place, and why? And Parks would answer the question last. But what is it about North Village, Skip, that that you've you've been the president for a while? What is it? Why you just started to stay within? What is it also about what North Village has done for you, or what you feel about North Village?
Well, I would start by saying that there was always the community spirit. From the days of Peaksfield, as Cal talked about earlier, we all played football and cricket at Peaksfield, but we also had a lot of heroes that we more or less worshipped, that were from the North Village area. I mean, I would say, as Park said, my brother Cal was my first hero in football.
Uh-huh.
But then we had such strong teams like Joe Trott and Barbara Hayward, Richard Smith, Alfie Smith, Jack Romaine, Alfie Sewell, Arthur Bean, even David Forbett back in the day. Roddy Stowe, but Joe was another hero. Joe was like the best center back that I've ever seen play. I compare him to Beckenbauer. So those guys were the actual legends, and that team I just called off, they were a young team, and they were the first team to win the Friendship Trophy that was played for in 1966. And if you all may recall, the Friendship Trophy came out as a direct result of the riots that we had at the Belco riots. And one of the policemen's sons, who was an English policeman, his son got injured in the riot. And once we got everything cleared up, he donated the Friendship Trophy for the very next year. So we have on record that North Village was the first team to ever win the Friendship Trophy. So those were our heroes. And we had a very strongly knit community, you know. And now we've seen ourselves grow to 3-4 generations deep. I mean, each of us here can say that we've had our sons, our daughters, and now our grandchildren, and even some great grandchildren, if you look back at the remains. So it's a very deep love and community spirit that has kept me amongst North Village. But I will say that, to be quite honest, I didn't always play for North Village. And I know my brother Punchy knows this. I left North Village when I was around 18. And I left and I went to play for Centaurs. And it was primarily because I wasn't able to make the team. The team was that good. And I know that North Village intimidated a lot of good players from coming to join us because it was such a great team, particularly the Triple Crown Championship team for 1977-78. But my issue was for leaving for 2 years was that I was a young father, and I was also straight out of school from TAC and working at BTC and working 7 days a week and a lot of nights. So the opportunity to grow and build my family, which was my priority at that time, kept me from committing myself to football. So, you know, the message is that, you know, when you're young and coming up, if you have a love for the game, well, then you got to be sure that you prepare yourself and do the right things so that you can put everything into it, and what you put into it, you get out. So coming back to North Village for me, I finished off my career there with them. And once I stopped playing football, it was about giving something back. And I can say that for all of my brothers, that when we left the game, we all came back to make contributions as administrators.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hey, Parks, I know, you know,
Yes.
you're again with North Village, but I also know that you at one time decided to move over and shift to Devonshire Colts. And I know, you know, in the household, that was a no-no. So explain that to us. Explain this to me. Because it was a no-no.
I'll tell you what
And
happened, right?
maybe you would, nowadays you would be really hating on one.
Nobody
Tell
would-
us about that situation, about your maybe going to Devonshire Colts, what you thought about.
Tell you how it happened. I was always sort of mischievous, right? So under Doc Derlin, when we guys were training, Doc was very, very strict, and we always used to skylark, have a lot of fun. So he came and slapped us guys up, slapped us upside our heads and tell us, go home and don't come back until you apologize. So me, Vance Hollis, and Dickie Hollis, we said, we're not apologizing to you, Doc. We're just going to go over Devonshire Colts and train with them. So we went over Devonshire Colts over Floor Glen, trained with them, and we were over there. And then the season was getting ready to start, and they gave me a badge, a Devonshire Colts badge. And I said, wait a minute, I cannot take this Devonshire Colts badge home to my house. So I actually took I can't take this orange, black, and white home to my family. So I snuck it in the house and put it up on top of the refrigerator. And my mom or somebody found it and said, Parks, what is this, sir? So I was scared to tell him that, Doc Derlin had sent me home, because I'd have got more licks from my mom, you know what I mean? And my brothers. They wouldn't have never let me live at their dance. So eventually I was over there training with Devonshire Colts for a bit. and then I actually broke my arm. So that tells you that I was not supposed to be. I was a
Yep.
traitor in my own neighborhood. You know what I mean?
Whoa.
So, my brothers weren't too fond of it, my family, but early, just a few people knew that I went over to Devonshire Coats and played. Well, not played, but trained with him, and that was my punishment for leaving North Village. I actually ended up breaking my arm and coming back, and had to apologize to Doc Derlin. And after that,
Whoa.
there,
That was
after
it.
that, there, that was it. And I never even dreamt about playing for another team ever. North Village is it's the deal. My life. We played football in our yard, all five of us in that yard there, little small yard on Roberts Avenue. We just played football from Saturdays from sunrise to sunset, 7 days a week when we were out of school. Out Frog Lane, I don't know if you guys remember the 11 Stars over at Frog Lane when we used to play over there.
Right.
But coming up, I admired my brothers, and all of us sleeping in the same room. We all had our different stories, and I learned a lot. Learned what to do, learned what not to do, and I just picked the burns out of that there. But it was great. I wouldn't even think about going to play for someone else. Never even heard of.
Parks, because you just finished, I'm going to ask you, what was competition like amongst the family, and then to get to amongst the team to make this team?
Well, I'll tell you what, right? That I came up in the B team, right? So it was so nice that the seniors used to come to watch us play before, our junior game, and then all the juniors would leave, together and go watch all the seniors. So we said, yes, I want to be like Gumbo, or I want to be like Punchy. Somebody said I want to be like Sharvin, Kelvin. So we'd all come back home and talk about it. And then once I finally got into the team, it's because Punchy went away to college. So I actually got into the team, and I was like 16 years old, 16 going on 17 years old, right? In 1975, I believe. 115 pounds, believe it or not. I'm just 120 pounds right now, but but it was always competition with all of us, all five of us in the yard just playing one buns, and we can all, Punchy and I were the tricky ones that would just kick the ball against each other, but we all had a fighting spirit to get into that team. And if I started out as a reserve because I couldn't get in the team with Calvin, the likes of Calvin and Gumbo, the twins, my brother Shervin, Randy Bean, Joe Trot. I had to make my time. I would come on the field as a substitute schoolgirl, and I think that I'm going to be in the team the next week. No, I wouldn't play again for another three weeks. But guess what? I was proud just to be a part of the team, and that season there, I think 77, 78. The only reason, I wouldn't say the only reason, but I cemented my place in the team because my older brother, Kelvin, he actually broke his leg, I think, or tore his ligament. And I took his position. And when we won those trophies, I knew I was still young, and I knew I still had time on my hands. So I actually gave my medals to my brother Kelvin at a prize presentation. I think that was 77, 78, if I'm correct. But the fairs, it was always, we all had different styles. Punchy's the tricky one, Kelvin's the one that's gonna knock everybody out for you. Shervin's the best passer of the ball, and I would say that I like to entertain. Punchy and I like to entertain, and Randall was on the sideline giving us encouragement all the way. So the competition was fierce, but we protected each other. Trust me, all the way.
Cal, him giving you those medals, obviously being on the injured list and not being able to be a part of it. How did that make you feel? Your younger brother actually handing you medals that you actually helped to start with.
Yes, it actually brought tears to my eyes, man, because I played up until the quarterfinals, and so injured my knee, so I couldn't play, and I had to watch from the stands, and when Parks made that presentation to me, well, I was really, really taken back, and as I said, it brought tears to my eyes. But as far as competition goes, we always had a competition, no matter what we done at home. 5 boys, living in a 2-bedroom house. We played football in the kitchen with a tennis ball. Played out in the yard, in the roadway, every day, as Park said, every day. So it was like a lot of competition, but I always wanted to see them, and they always wanted to see me succeed. Whenever we played, if we played together, or I was on the bench, or they were on the bench, we all rooted for each other. So, and we all protected each other. Yeah.
Dennis?
Coming up with 5 brothers. That must have been hilarious at times, stressful at times. I want to know who's the most competitive of the 5. Who's the most competitive person out of the 5 brothers?
Wow.
Cal.
Can I jump in on that?
Yeah.
Skip.
Yeah, go ahead, Skip.
Yeah, I see McGarrett up in the corner there, right?
Exactly.
Punchy. It wasn't all peaches and cream playing together, even as brothers. Punchy was a truly professional in terms of his ability and his expectations and his attitude on the field. You couldn't pass a ball wrong to Punchy, man. He would stop the game and look at you. He would give you that look like he was. I want the ball on my left side, you put it on my right. But Punchy was truly, truly like fanatical about the game, and he still is today. He really takes the game very, very serious. So he was an incredible player, and I believe his exposure to playing football at college in the United States and having opportunities to see it at a different level. When he came back here, he was even a better player. But if you ask me, he was the most competitive and the most serious about the game, and he still is today.
Yeah, Punch.
Thank you for that compliment, Skip. Yeah, I still think, personally, I still think I'm gonna ask a couple of questions. I'm gonna ask Cal. I always thought that Cal was the most competitive. I thought, watching my older brother playing the Pan American Games in the Dominican Republic. Cal, I can recall this incident when the Mexican guy practically almost broke your neck, and wow, it was just unbelievable to see. I was only 17 years old, to see your unbelievable spirit, to get up and, of course that player was taken care of, but Skip, I applaud you for that. But I just think, in really, I think for me personally, I think Cal was kind of the competitive one, and I seen it in and out, just how competitive he was, against Mexico. I'm playing the team, and I was just only 17. So to witness that with my older brother was like, whoa. Again, the question I want to ask, there's a couple of questions I want to ask also. People always ask, how diverse we were as a family, of all these 5 boys. And Randall, I'm gonna go back to some real old days, back into Technical Institute. For you, Randall, because I know you stopped playing football, playing at Technical Institute under Mr. Smith, Tom Smith, and Skip, you would know that also. And Cal, what I also want to tell you, you can probably brief us on terms when you were playing for Berkeley and how competitive it was when you come up full game again playing against the Pride teams like Churchill, Pride Bessian, and how many the crowds that were there. Can you kind of give us starting with you, Cal, what it was like?
It's amazing you asked that question because, back in the day, school football was very, very competitive, man. And I mean, Berkeley had a good team. I mean, you had Pinks, you had myself, Dawson Swan, Jerome Parent-Chief, Doc Davis, to name a few. And when we used to come out for Glen, it was like, hey, whoa, where all these people come from, man, to watch a school game, But it was very, very competitive. And of course, Berkeley was probably considered to be the weakest of the 3. Tech, all boys, Cunningham, all boys. But we held our own. But we used to love playing against those guys, man. We loved playing against them. Get beat, but that was okay. That was all right.
Yeah, and Randall, you played for Technical Institute too. I know your career ended early, in football, but you played for Tampa, so did Skip.
Yeah.
And what was it like?
I mean, it was amazing. I played with guys like Tudil, Van Butterfield, Lou Trott, Doc Warner, and we had some good hard games. And then we went out there to play against this team called Barkley, and you had Roger Butterfield and Johnny Newsom down there in the center half, and positions like that there. And then you had this loose short guy that was really dirty. I think they call him Pinks Lewis. Right? And Pinks would run down the field and he would kick you and then run right back down the other end of the field, right? To rile you up and stuff like that there. And I think they probably beat us in one game just by this little I guess small guy that was like bigger than dirt itself. Because like he done a lot of pack of dance, and then he and Todil played on Social Club together. But when they played Tech against Barkley, it was a total battle. And you could see it was just always one-on-one. They would hug up after the game, but during the game, it was pure war. Mm-hmm. But we enjoyed those games playing against Barkley, like I said, out Frog Lane and all of that there. But Tech went on, we won some trophies and stuff like that there. But we played with a great bunch of guys under Mr. Smith. And like when you have Van Butterfield and Girl and stuff like that there. And Van Butterfield came from a background of like basketball and stuff like that there. So he would get the ball and push it through your legs and stuff like that with his hand, like pull it through your legs and bunt it over your head, doing a pack of nonsense and all of that there. But he was a fantastic goalkeeper. Mm-hmm. And I know he played for Somerset, and he was still doing that same type of nonsense in Somerset's girl as well. But hey, it's great days up at Tech, man. Great days up at Tech. And one of these days I'm gonna see Pinks and I'm gonna kick him. Yeah.
Yeah. I do understand. And Skip, also because you myself and Randall were all at Tech. Because I remember, I could tell you stories about sitting on the bench for almost a year and a half and 2 years and being substitute, but never being in the play. So Skip, about Tech, who did you play when you was playing for Tech? Because and tell us about Tom Smith. I won't tell you about Tom Smith because I think I have so much respect for Tom Smith, like Dr. Dillon. What was Tom Smith like, Skip?
Yeah. Tom Smith was our gym teacher. Right. He was an Englishman, and he settled here in Bermuda. He passed recently, and we honored him up at South P about 3 years ago. But he was an excellent teacher. And I believe that his favorite sport was actually rugby, to be quite honest. But he knew all about the major sports here in Bermuda, which for us was cricket and football. Tom was incredible. And I played with players like Noel Gibbons. Noel Gibbons was actually our goalkeeper, believe it or not. Rich Rayner, my good friend who's passed, Randall Lindsay, Lawrence Webb, Bill Peniston. And we were one of the top teams in Bermuda as far as high school football went. And what I do know is that back in those days, which was I was at Tech from 1965 to 1970. But back in those days, high school football, and even primary school football was very competitive and very well attended. So at the high school level, you would have crowds like what Cal said, like almost like what you would have today to a Premier game. And the Premier games, I would say back in those days, were like 2,000, 3,000 people a week to the Premier Division games. And it's a far cry from that today, of course. But the high school days, I have lovely memories of it. And the competitive, how we competed against each other on and off the field, it was friendly stuff. I mean, on the field, it was, as Randall said, war. But after the game was over, that war was over and we were all friends. So those were good days back in Bermuda. We didn't have a whole lot of what we have to deal with today with the social issues that we're facing.
Thank you, Skip. Thank you very much. Hey Parks, at Whitney, tell me someone you guys played against in your school time at Whitney. Somebody that's notable. Who's the guys that you played with at Whitney?
with at Whitney, how I ended up going to Whitney because I wanted to go to Technical Institute, remember, and they were facing that they're out. So I actually went to Whitney, but Whitney wasn't known for football. They were known for rugby. So I had to play rugby and cricket at Whitney,
Whoa.
and had to play. You know what I mean? Because I don't know if anybody remember the school used to be on the American base was called Roger B. Chaffee. We had to play rugby. So for me, I was the captain of the senior football team in Whitney when I was in like the third year. So I carried a lot on my shoulders because we could just about make up a team. You know, we just had players, just anybody can just show up and play. So we weren't too competitive. We didn't really win much, but I got these guys to enjoy the game. You know what I mean? And but with me being the captain of Whitney, they picked me to be the captain of the school select to play against teams like when they used to bring some teams from Jamaica down here, and I was the captain of that of the team there because of they knew my capabilities from playing with North Village, you know. So I just used Whitney as another stepping stone for some recognition to get into the junior national squad also, and through North Village, and but I played with guys like Leon Jennings, Andre Harvey, and not many of these guys went on to actually continue playing football. Most of them went away to school or took up a different profession, but I just stuck with the football. And like I said, we weren't really known for playing football at Whitney. We were just mostly rugby, and that's something that I had to participate in. But when I came here from school, right training with North Village. That's from my high school memories right there. But nothing much of football in Whitney Institute.
And let me
Mostly
ask,
academics.
I'm going to ask each of you, what in your days coming up in the team, what team would you consider as your toughest opponent as a team, and then someone that you would always remember your battle with week in and week out or season after season? We'll start with you, Randall.
Somerset Cricket Club. Because it never failed that we would be playing Somerset Cricket Club, right? And the score would be 1-1, or we would be leading 1-0. And then it would come right down to the last couple of minutes, and that would by Riley. Steve, I think it was Stevie, right?
Stevie Riley.
Stevie Riley would always come up and either draw the game or put the ball in the back of the net with a couple of seconds left, and you least expected it. You wanted to wipe him out, but that is what he done. He just waited his time, and it always seemed that whenever we went up against Somerset, it was going to be a battle royale. So that was my take for my toughest team.
What about you, Sharon?
Yeah, I would say PHC. I'm married to Tansy Russell's daughter, and it was always very, very competitive with PHC. And they had an incredible team for many years, many years, with Dale Russell and Derek Russell and Johnny Newsom, and even back as far as the days of Duckfoot and those guys. But for years, even before we broke into senior football as players, as a junior player, PHC was the nemesis, and they always seemed to, at the end of the day, be the champions, and we were bridesmaids until we kind of took over. I believe that as far as trophies go now, that we're pretty much hand in glove as to who has won the most. They may have a slight edge on us at the moment by 1 or 2 trophies. We're like around 53 trophies that we won in the Premier Division. And they may have a few more because they won trophies in other divisions as well. But that was the team that always caused us a lot of trouble.
Yeah. All righty. Let's go with Parks.
My hardest team I played against was Somerset, in particular, Lance Brown Blessed Soul, Lance used to tell me, Parks, don't come up here trying those stupid tricks and flicks on me because I am going to hurt you. He said,
That's Lance.
we're going to be okay after the game. Parks, when you get the ball, I'm telling you, lay it off. He's telling me the terms
That's
before the
Lance.
game even started. So you know how you used to walk out on the team side by side. So every night, I mean, every time we had to play Somerset, I'm just thinking, I said, please don't let Lance Brown be playing. And if he was playing, I would switch either with Calvin or Punchy because he was just one of my toughest opponents. You know what I mean? He would kick you and he say, oh, I'm sorry, Parks. I'm sorry. Did I hurt you? He says, I've got another one coming for you. I tell you, do not hold on to that ball. and you know, Somerset was I look forward to playing against Somerset. You know, they had that strong tradition, you know, like the Bronze, they had Trix Richardson, they had Dirt Simmons, they had Muscles, George Brangman. I played with all those guys when I was just a lightweight, you know, so I used to look around and make sure that I had my brothers like Sheriff and Punchy and Kelvin to back me up, just in case I did start something, you know, because I used to try to get in a little bit of tricks too, you know, kicking. Then I'll run to my brothers and Joe Trott, and they will protect me, you know, like so Bill and Cracks, you know, and these guys can tell you that even in training, nobody even wanted to train against Cracks Thornton Robinson because he used to wear his studs on dry days if his studs was this thick here, you know, so we didn't even want to train against him. But I remember a lot of games that Cracks Robinson and Dwayne Trix Richardson, they always had it out. You know, those two, no matter what, they always had it out for each other. But Somerset was one of my hardest opponents. And I really liked the atmosphere with, you know, Silver City back then. I don't know what happened to them, DB, but, you know, Silver City back
Scumbag,
then,
they'll be
they
back.
came down. Yeah, they'll be back. That's good. So to look around the field and see that black, red and black, and then look around the field and see how red and white. It was really, you know, I really wish we can go back to those days because those were some memorable days that if you came to the game 15 minutes late, you know you're not going to be able to see the game because there wasn't any seats left. But Somerset was basically my hardest opponent to play against. Yeah.
Cal?
And for me, PHC, and in particular, believe it or not, Derek Russell, left back. Like Lance with Parks, Derek used to tell me, "Hey, don't come over this side and try your tricks over here. You know, the ball's going past, but not you." So of course, after a couple of slams, I'm going over the other side. Send Punchy or Parks over that side to Derek, and he'll follow me. But he'll follow me over the other side. And you know, we're best of friends. In fact, we ended up calling each other Sir Derek Russell, Sir Kelvin Deal. But PHC were my hardest opponents, man. Love playing against them, love to beat them, but it was always a battle. And also Devonshire Coates as well, man. Devonshire Coates, and in particular Larry Smith, who was quick, man. I mean, I thought I was quick. I push the ball and run. When I look, Larry's right going past me, tackling me, and taking the ball from me. But yeah, those were my two toughest teams in my playing days.
Yeah. Dennis?
Coming through, I used to enjoy watching three other teams. Well, Somerset, I was fanatical about Somerset, watching Somerset with the guys they had like Kenny Can and George Brangman and Dirt Simmons and that group, Clyde Bass, Randy Horton. North Village was one of the other three teams that I used to like watching. I used to like Village, Devonshire Colts, and PHC. And one of the things that drew me to North Village was the style of play. Close passing, good movement off the ball. Where did that come from? Because like Randall said, like when we used to play North Village, a lot of times we used to say, well, we're gonna defer to the possession because we knew Village are gonna have more possession, you know, and you know, be a bit more direct. And like Randall said, we heard him a couple of times. I remember a couple of games, Village had us 1-0. I remember a game in particular on PHC. Village had us 1-0 in the I believe it was a semifinal, and we scored 2 goals in like 3 minutes to win the game.
Yeah.
But Village had like 95% possession. Where did that style come from And you know what I mean? Because and even right up to today with you know your team at Kenny Hills and you know where did that you know quick passing, movement off the ball, confidence on the ball, where did that come from?
I would think, um, I would say Peaksville, because Peaksville was a
Peaksville.
small area, and you had about 20 guys on a team. And so once you got the ball, you know, you had to do your thing and quick passing. So I think maybe that's where it started from. But then because of our size, you know, being small guys, we needed that sort of quick movement of the ball, quick passing, because we weren't really strong headers of the ball. So the long pass was not in our program. But I think really started from for me anyhow, from Peaksville.
Punch?
I think, yeah, I think so. I can answer that too. I think yeah, Cal is actually right. You're playing a little small on 40 by 40 or something like that, and you made a mistake there. You know, it was like, what? You got to go off, sit on the side. Yeah, that concept came from that. You're right, Cal. It came from that, and we worked very hard at doing that too, making sure that that's what Northwest was really about. Um, and so I do agree with Cal about that concept too. But there are some questions I'm gonna ask Wendell, and it might not be the best of it. So let's say, for instance, Cal, I'm gonna ask you a question, and you can answer this too. What happened? We were, we've never been relegated. That year that we had a bad year. Now, Wendell, as I know, you were the coach of the team, and Cal, I'm gonna ask you that dreadful day of Devonshire Rec, that dreadful day, and they're still talking about you that whatever you done, well, we stayed up. So, Cal, first of all, what do you think was the problem what happened to us that year when we almost relegated? And you were the coach at the time too.
Wow, that's a loaded question.
Well,
Well, from the beginning, I had just passed my coaching badge. I can't remember. We discussed last night who the coach was. I think it was Alan Jones.
yes.
Right. And I just, passed because I coached netball, softball, and everything like that there. And then football came along. I used to coach the junior team. And then they came up with the, okay, let's see how you advance going into a senior team. But being a brand new coach, going into a first division team with these legends, and here it is, good old Vandal. Well, I can tell you one thing: if I didn't smoke a cigarette before, for the half of that season, I must have smoked about 10 packs as a coach, because it was extremely hard. And what I learned from my experience is that you came on coaching a team that was winning everything, but what you didn't realize that team had a target on it. And every single team that you played tried to outplay you and outdo you. And they were coming in doing whatever was necessary to win the games. And as a young coach, I can honestly say I really didn't have an answer. I had to rely on people like Joe Trott and Cal and Punchy. I mean, they all stood behind me. Sheriff and Parks, they stood behind me like 150%. But as a coach going in, it was horrible. And every time I looked at the stats, you're walking onto the field and people are saying, oh yeah, here he comes again. What you gonna do this time, Vandal, with your team and stuff like that there. So the first thing I want to do, I want to lay somebody out. That was just like the attitude that I had. But
Right.
It was really and truly difficult, but you had to keep your head up and try and keep these guys motivated, guys that have been playing longer than you, far more experienced than you are. But you had to be there as the leader and try to set some example to keep these guys going on. And then it came down to that final game. And we played out Devonshire Rec and playing against Cougars. And with that, I'll sign off and let Cal take it from there.
Well, thank you very much, Wendell. So we're gonna, because Cal,
Yes.
Cal, you still get all the ribs about that particular day,
Yeah,
and I never see so much tears shed. But Cal, explain. Look, we were down 2-1. We got a couple of minutes to go, and that result would have meant North Village is going down.
Yes.
Tell me exactly what went on, what happened, because there's still dispute about that penalty.
Okay.
Also, give us also scenario about after the game. Just tell us what happened, Cal, because the people are still saying that you just threw yourself on the ground.
Well, I hope Donnie Hill's watching this. It's about 90 seconds to go, maybe less. Mike Levon and I did a 1-2, and I raced down the right wing, and as I cut in, I could see Arnold West coming to the near post, and I know there's no way in heck I can score in the near post. Time's running out, so the first thought in my head, cut back. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Donnie Hill coming, and he's coming like, because he didn't expect for me to cut back, and when I cut back, he just bundled right into me. And people say I took the dive of a lifetime. I should have crushed him. But all I know is that I was in the box. PV blew the whistle. And Gumbo Bean stepped up to take the penalty. And it's the first time in my career, that I never watched him take a penalty. I turned the other way. Heard him kick it, heard the whistle go, heard the people on the bank holler. And that was it, man. And I could tell you, I think the whole team cried that day because we were like 90 seconds away from being relegated. And the funny part about it, when we started the game, we were 1-0 and coasting along. We were overpowering Cougars. But we eased off the pedal. And I remember Punchy, one time the ball was bunching between Skip and I don't know if you remember the Skip. And we let the ball bunch, and here comes Leroy Butterfield, banks the ball up the field to Jerry Swan. And Jerry Swan, butters his ball, to make it 2-1. Well, Punchy laid into us. And I said, hey, what are the older guys here, man? This guy talking to us like that. But we both knew that we should have, one of us should have attacked the ball. But that was, I'll tell you, the feeling after the game. In fact, Rondo was the coach. And like I said, he did smoke a pack of cigarettes that day. And I remember coming off the field, got up in the dressing room, and Willie DeGraff, who was assistant Rondo, he's the goalkeeping coach, smacked me upside of my head and used some choice words I can't say over this on this forum, but told me don't ever do that to him again, man. But the people on the bank, the crowd were crying, and North Village fans were like in tears, man. That's how passionate they were about that game. In fact, that football in general. But we had a hard season that year. We had won the league the year before, and the national squad was on duty. And I think it was about 5 of us in the national squad: Gumbo, Joe, Punchy, was it Randy? I think it was 5 of us in the squad. And I wouldn't say we were tired or anything, but we were losing games 2-1. Be leading and lose, like Dennis was saying about the 2-1 in 90 minutes, in 3 minutes. And so, but that game is probably one of the most memorable games I can think of. I don't think that we never actually got in that position again. So that was it, Punch.
That was it. Good. Skip. My question to you would be, after football, the left centers, what actually decided you to get into the taking over the leadership of North Village? And why did you decide to do that in terms of become the president? What propelled you to get involved with that? Because and you've been there quite a bit of time. I hold my hand up for the fact that the stuff that you've achieved. Why did you move in that direction?
Well, first, I never really left North Village Community Club. When I say left, as a player, yes, but as an administrator and a person wanting to see the club progress, I never actually left because I still served on committees with my brother Cal, who was chairman of the entertainment committee. But Garrett, you were an inspiration to me as well in terms of my becoming the president. And when I came back, it was a lot to build on for North Village. And we became more than just a football. Doc Dolan's tenure with the club, he got us involved with softball, netball, cricket, and football. And I can say for our netball team, we are the only club in the country that has been involved with netball since the netball league's inception. So I'm very proud of that. So I felt that as an administrator, I could do more off the field than on the field. And that was my motivation to actually where we are today. I became president in the year 2000, and I'm still president today. I did step away for 2 years and came right back. But I will say that in the year reflecting on when we were in trouble, it was an eye opener for me because in 1977-78, we were Triple Crown champions. And then in 1978-79, we held every trophy that was available. Those were the glory years of Gumbo, Joe, and the Twins, and Cal, Paul, those were glory.
Okay, we lost him for a sec.
Lost him for a second. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, we'll see if he comes back. When you guys, I know that everybody likes to play on a surface that you're really, really encouraged about playing on. Cal, which one would you say was your favorite field to play on back when you were playing?
Other than the National Stadium, of course, Somerset. Somerset was my favorite field. Yeah, it seemed like Somerset Field, the grounds were always immaculate, and I just loved playing on it. And St. David's, too, that was our home field. That was they kept that field pretty good as well. But certainly National Stadium and Somerset.
Okay. What about you, Parks?
Yes, definitely national, because they used to call it the carpet, and we used to call it our home field because we used to go up there so much. And when we went up there, we never really lost because of how the ball used to roll, and that's how we used to practice. Like Dennis was saying, close ball control. And my other favorite field was, because of the atmosphere, was St. David's, because St. David's just adopted us as their team. Also, they used to feed us after the game. We used to stay down there and party, and the field was going from I think it was from east to west, I think, or I forget how the field was shaped, but it was just a nice feeling down at St. David's also, and the surface was pretty decent because they used to switch it up over the years. But that was one of my favorite grounds that I used to like to play on.
Okay. What about you, Randall?
I have to say up at the carpet and over to Somerset. They, and well, as Parks, he just brought it to my mind, like how we were treated when we were down at St. David's, because we became family with St. David's, and they gave us everything that we wanted, man. It was really nice. But Somerset had an excellent field. I love playing up there. I love when the guys played up at Somerset and more like that.
Yeah. Shervin, we lost you for a second. You want to finish that and then talk about the we lost you where you were saying, that you had gotten back into the presidency.
Okay, so I'll just wrap that up in that. I got into the presidency in the year 2000, and I've been there ever since, with the exception of 2 years stepping away in 2013 when I went 60. But I came back primarily to build on the programs because we wanted to be more than just a football club. Under Dr. Williams' tenure, he brought us a long way from the Peaksfield days. And we ended up having netball, softball, cricket, and netball. I'm proud to say that was one of the areas where we served and have continued to serve since its inception. And I don't believe any other club can say that today. We got an award from the Netball Association about 5 years ago. We were the only club that had been there since. But we had to build on the programs. And the field that we have done at North Village we opened it up in November of 1991. And today we're seeing and have been accepted for some major improvements to the facility. And we're going to be installing lights there for next season. We've got a FIFA grant through the BFA. And it's all about building on the programs and the holistic development of, the 170 odd kids that we have in the program. So that's what keeps me motivated. And when I see people like Sean Gota and David Bascom and Andrew Bascom and all of the persons, even like a Jonathan Bryas, who started with us at 5 and has been with us ever since. I'm not going to call his age, but building on the future for North Village, whereas it's not just about building players, it's about building administrators as well. And Jonathan today, I'm proud to say, is our treasurer. So you can see that we have a plan in view. And we just want to make sure we've got all the tools and all the proper people to make sure that the plan is going to sustain us and we will be able to maintain the high standards that we've achieved for way past my tenure and for generations to come.
Okay. Good stuff. Dennis?
Before my next question, I'd like to commend you guys, your club, because of the family atmosphere. And I've witnessed that myself because my daughter's been a part of your netball program. She started at 6 playing with under 12s. So she's going 10 now. So she's able to basically hold her in. But, I would just like to commend you guys for, having such a fantastic program. I mean, when I first heard she was going to play for Village, I said, "You serious? I need to start a netball team of some." But she absolutely loves, the atmosphere, and the camaraderie among the players and the coaches. Stacy Grant, in particular for my daughter is, a godsend. Sometimes you can't pick her up or whatnot, but I just like to commend you guys for that. I have also a bias statement. Center backs. I used to be a center back, and I really, 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 really used to love watching. In my eyes, like 2 of the best center backs Bermuda's ever produced, Joe Trotter and Woolley. It was a pleasure to play against them, but it was also a pleasure to play with them. I played with Joe a couple of games for the national squad before he retired. Played with Woolley a couple of games. But you've also created people like Cantwan, who in my eyes is a top center back. Kofi, who was very underrated in my eyes as a center back, and even young Kimmy Beans was also a good center back, to come to North Village. So that, that's basically a biased statement, from me, in relation to the center backs that you guys produce, because I think Woolley and Joe were probably the best 2 that played in this country, and the confidence that they had on the ball, and at times they get cocky. You know what I mean? But those 2 guys had so much confidence, and it was so much of a pleasure to watch those guys play. My next question for anyone: Who is the best all-round player of the brothers? Who is the best all-round player?
Everyone start an award, Dennis.
I want to.
Yeah. Maybe you should, ask my mother. Maybe. Yeah. I'm not gonna ask now. Anyway, I'm a moderator. You guys go right ahead. Go ahead.
Who the best? I think the best was
I'll say
Punchy, Shervin,
best all
Cal, and Parks.
All round. I mean, offense, defense, pass, score, all round.
Derek.
I'll get Punchy.
Derek. I'll say Derek.
Derek?
You know who Derek is?
No.
Yeah, he's the best player in our family.
Oh, wow.
You know Derek?
Derek Russell.
All of us are modest.
Oh, Derek.
Nobody's gonna
Okay,
pick
Derek
nobody.
Russell.
I'm not picking anybody.
You know,
You see what you're doing about Dennis? You see what you're doing? They're trying to
exactly,
beat each other.
Hey, Dennis, I'm glad you asked that question because we usually sometimes don't debate it. Because when we had Larry on, and Larry was saying, when he shocked me, he says, I prefer Parks over Punchy. I was like, well, over you. You remember that show, right?
Yes.
So sometimes we guys, me and my brothers just talk more about the North of this organization, but we never talk about that. But for me, if I can answer that, Parks is not personal. Skip is not personal. Rondo's not personal, but I think Cal, my older brother, I think he has not because he's a senior, but I just seen him at his work rate, his ethic of playing football. I remember when Norfolk when he used to take me to the games on his back of his bike, and Norfolk's being beat up, but Cal was like a Trojan horse, like no, and this is fruits of it. So of what we've achieved. I just think that for me personally, I can answer. I think Cal. I will put Cal for me.
Okay.
Okay, so who was the best goal scorer?
For me, I'm gonna answer that quick.
Um,
Mr. Parks.
Parks,
The clever, I think Mr. Parks.
Okay.
Mr. Parks, yeah, oh yeah. But before Mr. Parks, I know I'm ending, sir. I'm talking a little bit more, but I nobody remember like Skip, my brother Shervin right here, who at one time when we were junior program, we come up to Psalms to play against Keith Talker, Simmons, and Somerset had such good players, but Mr. Skip was the captain and he was the center forward. And I thought Skip, I said, whoa. I thought Skip, in terms of scoring goals, the best center forward I've ever seen for playing alongside, not because of my brother, but I thought Skip was also a jam. Hard times when Gumbo came along, but he had to move on and he did.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's my opinion. A lot of people talk about me, but hey, I'm just grateful to be in, can you imagine being in a household, like I said, and playing in the living room, and you lost, and you're twinning tennis ball against Parks, Cal, Shervin, and even Rambo, who's great legs, but it was tough. You had to be tough. You had to be tough.
Yeah.
And
But Punchy, when it came down to you as well, people were scared to tackle you.
Yeah.
They will come there. I've seen in one game, and I'm not going to call his name, but you made this guy run and slid right off the field, up at a certain field, right? We were playing, and he was running full. They told him, stop running against you. And he ran, and was pushed the ball through his legs, and he didn't stop until he was into his bench on the side of the field and stuff like that there. And that was kind of embarrassing, but when it came down to tricks and moving the ball about and passing the ball, like you were there. With Cal, if you give a ball down on the wing, Cal had the ball down on the wing and going, and then he would put it in the middle, and then there would come Parks who would kick like a horse, man, and he'd just fire straight through the ball, and it's in the back of the net. Remember that game when he scored the winning goal down against Devonshire Coast down at St. David's? Even though they said the ball was outside when Cal sent it across, but by the time it got to Parks, it was in the back of the net because Parks had power. So, they all had, there's certain tricks. And like Skip's favorite one was that he would point to the bench so that if you got the ball across him, the ball was going, but you were going on the bench. That was just, everybody was gifted in the right way. So to say who was the best, they were all the best at what they done.
I think the other thing I want to add to this, sir, you guys, I'm going to make a trivia question. Who did our father support? Now, Dennis, who did our father support? What team did he support? I know you guys know that.
Yeah.
Say it. Who did our father? All our boys play for Norfolk, but who did our father support? Say again.
Better be Somerset then.
There you go.
There you go.
Wow. My mama's listening. Somerset. That's right.
Whoa.
That's right.
I'm having trouble with my audio.
I think Dennis, that we be good on Somerset, and my father be all getting ready to go up to all of us. And I know my father, it's like Somerset's his team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yeah. So but there you go. We knew that there. That's why I guess it was in our bones to make sure we come to Somerset. Oh my God, yeah. When we get back home,
it was war, man.
Oh yeah, war. It's war.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I'm glad we had this chance. I'm glad to be on the show, of course, supporting the show. But the last question I want to ask you all, excuse me for taking on, the future of the country, as always, Skip, Rundle, Parks, and Cal. the results. What do you think the future of the future of the country, like our show that we're doing? You feel we're heading in the right direction?
I would say,
I'm having
McGarrett.
problems with my audio, McGarrett.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
I would say. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the future of the country,
Yes.
it lies in proper development.
Thank you.
We're fortunate now to have so many of our young players getting exposed to professional environments overseas, and that, in my opinion, is adding to the future of the country in terms of players that are going to be at a different level than what we are here locally. But it's important, and I see that the government is making an investment these days in sports, especially during this COVID. But back in the day when my brother Cal was playing for the national team and we were competing against Mexico and winning, and Canada and winning, and the USA and winning, I believe that we've been left behind because of development. These countries have raced ahead of us. They've invested in it with millions of dollars, and it's just not where we have made the proper investment in the development of sports in Bermuda to keep up with the CONCACAF, such as the Canadas and whatnot. So North Village has always survived, and I'll say we survived because of internal development. We've always had multiple junior programs, and that's one of the reasons that we're able to sustain and maintain ourselves. But I mean, we have still to step up to be more professional as well, and deliver and make sure that we properly prepare the youth that's coming through our programs for the wide world, the international world out there, because we can compete. So that's where the future lies, as far as from my perspective.
And hey, Cal, and Cal, you're playing the national program. What you're seeing the results? What do you feel? What direction are we heading? Because Nikita, your daughter, is on the Charleston Women's National Program. I've seen quite a bit of progress with her. And so, what do you think? What's your opinion on this, Cal?
The thing is that we've got all these players that are overseas. I think we need to be able to bring them back and let them play more together as a cohesive unit. Because right now you have one or two players in the team that they don't seem to know how each other's playing. Now I watch Kita, my daughter, with her national squad players, and she's got them really programmed and playing together often, knowing each other. And I think that's what we got to do more of. I mean, I know it's hard to get these guys together because they're all overseas. But to me, unless we get a blend now, back in the day, and I'm not knocking anybody, but Bermuda had the most successful time in football, international football, when we were under people like Graham Adams, Brian Fisher, Alan Jones, who was coach when I was in the squad. And they somehow managed to get the players, and I can't say why, other than players being totally committed and do anything to play for Bermuda. But the players seem to want to play together. And I mean, some of my best friends are guys from other teams, Pinks, John Tucker, George Brangman, Muscles. And I'm thinking we're on the right track as far as getting these players overseas and getting them to play for us. But I just think it's more of players getting to know each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Thank you, Cal. Hey, Parks. What do you think, Parks? I'm trying to make it. What do you think, Parks? We're in the right direction. The results. You feel that way because you played in the national program.
Yes. And it's helping right now because of the amount of players that are there right now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good.
Yes.
It's good for the amount of players that have securing these professional contracts and stuff. And I applaud the coaches and stuff for pushing these guys because it's really nice to see that the youngsters are sticking I even see how they come back. Like I see Sadeo, and I see Remy, and I see all these other players. When they come back, I even see the structure of their bodies. Like they're built like footballers, and I can tell. I enjoy watching them. You know, we still got a bit of way to go, but if we keep playing together, we're going to achieve things. Because I see a lot of
Yeah.
stuff coming out of North Village, grandchildren and nephews and everything. So I think we're in the right direction. Yes,
Good.
I'm
I
happy
think,
the way we're
and
going.
Randall, I want to ask you a question. I'm just going to put this statement to you. I know your grandson, Omari's son, your grandson, he plays with on the Andrews Bascom Academy, and I've seen his improvement. So you would say with that movement, even though it's not playing for North Village, that we're heading in the right direction. You're seeing such an
Yeah.
improvement because your grandson is seeing such an improvement. You would think that, wouldn't you?
Oh, most definitely, because he's learning the structure of the game. He's learning, and they do a lot of board work as well, which is really, really great stuff because you don't find that much here in local football, where the coaches take the teams and sit down and they actually do the blackboard work with them, and then they do strategizing type of training and stuff like that there, and they sit down and they talk to them, and they're not afraid to tell the player like, okay, you're doing this wrong, and no player is a superstar on that team. Each player is treated as an equal and stuff like that there, so that they all get a chance to play. If you think you're doing too good, you can get bored off and put on the side. So the structure is very good out there.
Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so
Any
much.
final question, Dennis?
Last question for me, to everyone, and I ask this question to everybody who comes on each week. What advice would you give to the current player to go to the next level? What advice would you each one of you give to the current player to go to the next level in their football development?
I'll start with Cal.
One thing, be committed, training hard, train on your own. And I mean, when I was coming up, there were quite a few players that I sort of, like I said, I named Gappa and Bayfield Clark, but even in my playing days, there were people that I watched, saw how they played, emulated them. But mostly it's training, commitment, and of course dedication. And if to go to the next level, you're gonna have to do the extra mile. I mean, we train 3 days a week, but we play at football 5 days and then play it on Sundays. That would be my advice, and to listen to the advice for the younger players, of senior players.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Randall?
I have to agree with Cal. Is that it's not how much you do on the field. It means a lot how much you do on the field and what you're doing in training. But it's when you leave that field and you're on your own. How many times can you hold that ball? How many times can you kick that ball for 40 yards and make sure it's accurate? You're picking spots when you're taking a kick at the goal. How many times can you get that ball to go in a specific area in the goal? So you have to increase your own skills on an individual basis and not wait till you get to training to do it, or work on your own and really feel that you can be better than what you are. Don't ever think you're better than who you really are.
Okay. And I want to go to Sherman.
Yes, for me, I would echo commitment to excellence, loyalty, and the education of the full game. Today's athletes are such that they're educated in everything that it takes to reach the top, and you got to keep your personal life in order, because that could cause you more grief going forward than anything else. So if you're committed to excellence and you're doing the extras, I can tell you that if you've been blessed with a bit of additional skill and you put it all together, you're going to excel. Because not always the best players are the ones that excel. Sean Goodall, when he left her, he wasn't really the best player at North Village, to be quite honest, but because of his commitment to excellence, his lifestyle, he achieved the ultimate. And that's the only way you're going to do it. You got to remain loyal and keep the end in view as to what you want to achieve.
And Parks?
Yes, I would say commitment, definitely. And the bottom line, you have to love the game. If you don't love the game, don't waste your time, because you're wasting other people's time. You got to put what you get out of the game is what you put into it. Punchy, we used to go out Frog Lane with no lights, and we should train with just our left foot, just him and I, and Leroy Neasley at sometimes, and we should train for 2 hours just with our left foot. They would take corners with our left foot. Your coach can only teach you so much, and your coach notices when you put in extra. So when you come to that game, coaches say, "Wow, these guys are fit. They must be doing some extra," and they notice that there. So I just say be 100% committed, because first of all, people are coming out here to watch you, to entertain them. Don't waste their time by just coming out to say you just want to play for this particular club. You got to put commitment into it, and you got to really love the game. If you don't love the game, it doesn't make sense you even playing, because people can pick up your body language on the field.
Well, I do want to say thank you very much to you, Deal Brothers, for coming on and sharing your walk down memory lane with the North Village. Okay, Sharon, go ahead.
Please, it would be remiss of all of us if we didn't mention that we have a sister as well. Her name is Sonia.
Okay.
And she also was an avid sports person. She was part of one of the first netball teams. So it was 5 boys and 1 girl.
Okay.
Sonia
All right.
Luann.
You just save your butt, Skip.
Yeah, you saved us all.
I'll tell you now.
You saved us all.
Mark said something earlier about
Yeah.
sneaking
You
that
definitely
Dennis
saved us
Coach
all.
badge into the house.
Yeah.
Now you got to answer for it, Parks.
You saved
have
us.
to go and
Thank you
answer
very
for it.
much. Yeah, you definitely saved us.
You're gonna have to go and pay for it now. See, so because the one person you're trying to hide it from is watching.
Is what? Yes. Well, again, I just want to say, Earl and Dennis, thank you very much. Again, my brothers, again,
Still
it was a
having
long
problems
journey
with
for
my
us
mic.
all.
Can you hear me?
Most people in our country, like ourselves, whoever thought that like 5 guys were playing, 4 guys were playing on the same team at one time. So it's great. And then maybe go back over this stuff and just say, well, because Dennis was wanting to talk to you guys, and I can imagine those days on that playing up on the roadside at Bleedwood. So anyway, thank you guys so much. I do appreciate it, your honesty, and again, thank you for the country. It's best for the country, as you always talk about. As my brothers and I always discuss, it's better what's best for the country. Dennis and Earl, thank you so much.
Thank
All
you,
right,
brother.
gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.
To all the people that are logged on, have a good night.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
gentlemen. Back.